Hello and welcome back to Brandywine Stitches. Today is April 15th, 2025, and I've been gone for 2 months. There's been a lot that has happened. It was only supposed to be a 2-week break, and there was a lot that happened. So, I have made quite a bit of progress in my cross-stitching and my knitting in the last 2 months, which is excellent, but we've got quite a bit of story to tell later if I can get through it. So, what have I been working on for the last 2 months? Well, mostly the Storybook Sal Stitch Along that I was starting. I started last May. So this is what the secret project was looking like at the beginning. This is what we got. I've been working on this a lot. This has been like my focus piece right now because the last part of it came out April 1st, and I was like, I'm so far behind. I was really wanting to keep up with this cell, and just I wanted to get it done in April or May-ish. Excuse me. So, I've been doing quite a bit of progress on this one. I actually, in the last 2 months, I have done a total of 4,437 stitches on it. On the current part, I'm 94.4% done. I think I'm on part 9, so I've got 3 whole parts to go. So, part 12 is April, March, February. So, I'm working on January's section right now. So, a couple months behind still, but I've made quite a bit of progress. In February, I did an additional 315. I was curious, so I broke it down. So, in February, I did an additional 315 stitches on it. In March, I did 2,779. And in the last 2 weeks, I've done 1,343 stitches. If I have a photo from where you saw it last time, I'll put that up here. I don't know if I do. I got very bad at taking those photos because, everything else is going on. Sorry for the clutter. It's taking it out of its Q-snap. So, I do know last time, I'm going to try and fold it, I think we were kind of finishing up this section, which is the horror section. Well, now you can see I've got this section over here, which is a mystery, and I've got that done, and I've started down here where it's a children's section. So we'll start with the mystery. So the mystery is what I've been working on most recently, so I'm working on it as it comes at each part, finishing each part, even though I'm behind, and I could just work wherever. I wanted to do each part as it came out. Hey, there's Kanji. Say hi, Kanji. You don't ever say hi. You're usually sleeping. Hi. You got goobers on your face. Okay. So if you see a wiggly tail, it's just Kanji. Look at that helicopter tail going. Okay. So we've got our horror section. We've obviously have our romance section. And we've got mystery. We've got the little question mark and the magnifying glass. And then now we're starting to work down here in a children's section. So that's where we've been working right now. I did find out that I am missing a floss that I thought I had bought one of everything, and apparently I did not buy 445. I think that was one of the ones that was out of stock at Joann's when I went to do they're closing buy all the floss that I need sale, because good thing I did. They can't keep the floss in stock. And I have yet to find a backup place to get my floss. So we'll have to figure out what's 445. I might find an alternative. The Joann's by me, it's like they're still technically open right now. They haven't like officially closed. So I might, depending on what my work schedule is, I might stop by and see if they have the 445. But it's going to be hard if they even have it. Because every other time I've stopped in, they have like nothing. So we'll figure that out. But, yeah. It's pretty cool. Right now it looks like there's some banners that are going across here. That's what I'm working on. Just got to get all the other colors pulled out and ready to go for that one. So that's my big thing that I've been working on for the last 2 months. When I did my last video, I had managed to do both of my February Whip Go calls, and I showed those. Those were Rainbow Dragon and Amethyst. I did both of those. March's calls were for Avengers. Was to do 500 stitches on that one. And let me find it. Okay, so March's calls were number 9 for Avengers, which I popped that up. If I didn't, here it is. And if I have a picture, as always, I have a picture of where I started. I will put that in here. I did this one less in the 10 by 10 blocks and more just filling in colors because we finally have Ant-Man. Let's see if I can get a light to shine on there. Kind of dark, but you can see it. So there's Ant-Man. We were kind of filling in colors and trying to get rid of all of these parked threads because this was quite a headache to work on. If I show you my back, look at that. So much. So tough to work through. So did a total of 606 stitches on this and got it to 0.8% in March, which is awesome. So that was my one Whip Go call. My other one was number 24, which is Big Cats. My camera doesn't want to focus now. There it goes. So, Big Cats. And this one I did a total of 500 stitches because it was blocky color, so it was easier to keep this one with the 10 by 10 color blocks. If you can hear my kids screaming in the background, I do apologize. Normally I do this when Rose is at school and my son is sleeping or at school. And they were both awake, hyper after dinner, so apologies if you can hear them screaming. So here is Big Cats. Back here you could actually see a lot of the color variation in it. Right there, perfect color variation. I'll bring it in closer, you can see the stitches. So total of 500 stitches here, and this one is officially at 1.1%, which is nice. So that meant I got both of my March Whip Go calls done. Yay me! Let's just go right into April's Whip Go calls. I've done one of 2. So April, we got the numbers 4 and 10. My number 4 is the Kiss of Wolves cross stitch kit that my mother-in-law got me a few years ago for Christmas, also to do 500 stitches on. I am postponing, delaying, procrastinating. That's the good word because this one is just really annoying to work with, and I know I need to do it, especially if I want to get my goal done. I've got 2 weeks left of the month, so have to get that one done. I really want to work on Storybook Style instead, so I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and get this one done. Also for 400 or 500 stitches, but I haven't picked that one up yet. Again, procrastinating. I just don't want to bother with it right now. The other one, the other number that was called was number 10, which is the Schoolhouse Rock. And I did a total of 504 stitches on this one. And this one, again, it was originally a stitch along, but I was never able to keep up with stitch along, but I'm still stitching it in, finishing stitching part 1 and then part 2. So I finished officially part 1. I think I did that the last time you guys saw it because I took it to Florida with me. So we've been working on part 2, and we've got a bunch of this grass down here filled in. There is a couple of, I think they're flowers right here. Why is it? No, there we go. Angled weird. Pretty sure these are flowers, and there's a ship. I don't remember if they had a Noah's Ark episode, but we've got grass, and it looks like the Ark to me. I would never saw all of them, but I remember the one specifically from school. So like the Bill and the adjunction junction, those ones. So I'm excited for when we get up to there. But this is where we've got. Been working kind of in here, filling in that grass, and that was kind of tough because I am working this one 2/2 because this is a 32 count Lugana, and I like it. It's nice, but when you have to jump up to keep stitching, you have to make sure you count correctly. So I've made a couple of mistakes in my counting, because that seems to be the theme for cross stitchers, is we can't count past 2 or 10 or something. My husband's in the other side of the computer, and he laughs because I have a medical job and I have to count. So I can count perfect for that. Comes to stitching, can't count over 2. So was that one. So I've got 1/2 of my April whip go done. I just need to bite the bullet, get the other one done. But I have other projects that I was working on throughout the last 2 months. So once I've done my whip go calls, typically I will then focus to doing the Facebook group that I'm in. They will give out like 13 or 15 prompts or something per month that you can work on. And I was doing good keeping up with those. I've never actually finished a month of the prompts, but I've made a good significant amount of progress throughout them, and it helps to kind of rotate and get progress on all of my projects. So for one of those, I ended up bringing out my whip of my German Shepherd Jalila, and I did 400 stitches on that. We're still working through the background, but we're approaching the part where we will see her tail. Now, I guess I should pull that down. Here is more background. 400 more stitches of background. Now, I did this one a pattern myself using Pick-to-Pat, and due to recent events, I ended up doing another pattern through Pick-to-Pat that I wasn't super thrilled with, so I ended up finding another program that I could make a pattern, and I created a collage picture for the pattern, so I might tweak the pattern of Jalila. I'm at the point now where if I want to do it, now's the time before I start working on any of her tail or anything. So I haven't picked it up since that because I had worked on this before. I had made on the other pattern, which we'll circle back to that. So this may get restarted or edited. We'll see how that ends up going and how I'm feeling for that one. So, yep. And this one has 4.5% of the current pattern, so it's a lot of background, a lot of stitches. I'm not sure if I want to take it out, but we'll see. Something to think about and figure out. So that one was of Jalila, and one of the other next ones that I did for the Facebook group is for Festive Feline. So my little Christmas pixel kitty, which once I get there, I'm gonna make this into. I'll find a way to adjust it so it's got Pixel's little stripe up her nose. So there's the little black and white Christmas kitty, and here is the additional 200 stitches. This has. There we go. If this is not coming out very well in the edit, I will take a good picture with flash and then put that up there. But there we are with the next 200 stitches. There is a lot of green in there. I promise you, there is a lot of green right here. You can kind of see it. A lot of green right there, so definitely working our way through, which is nice. So that one is now at 0.4%. Not even at 0.5% for the Festive Feline yet. And then told you, I got a lot of progress done in the 2 months that I was not filming. So, also worked on Smiles in My Cup for my daughter, which is the penguins in the coffee or iced tea or whatever it is you want to say it is. More background. Did only 40 stitches on this one because I think I was just finishing up threads because these are all knotted waist threads, and I think down here we have some parked threads. So I think I was just trying to end the parked threads because we are approaching the color transition, so it's going to go from like this darker gray to more of a cream color around the cup. So we are approaching where that transition is, so I was trying to end a lot of the parked threads, that way I didn't have a bunch to deal with when we actually got to the color transition. So only 40 stitches, not a lot. And that is at 5.8%, which is that somewhere. It's making slow progress. We also worked on the wonderful Lady of the Flag by Mirabilia Nora Corbett. Corbett. I'm probably butchering it. I'm not the greatest at saying names sometimes. We live in Michigan where there's a lot of Polish names, so they can be quite difficult. So I ended up doing 215 stitches on it and got to approximately 17 to 18%. So this is where we are. Working our way. I was working more over here with here, so it's like very light cream stitches, but I was working over in this area. And yeah, I think I was also starting to like work back up this way, kind of just wanting to work more on color, work on the flag. So I was working here or both. So that's the Lady of the Flag. Got one more cross stitch project that I was working on, but I want to pause and go over a different project that I was working on because the last cross stitch project is part of the story. Sorry, magnets and scissors tangled around threads. So last time I had started a pair of socks while I was going to Florida, and I think I was about here-ish, somewhere here. I know I was getting ready to start the heel, and we have one sock. So I have one full sock done. I haven't weaved in any of my ends because in case something's wrong, I want to make sure it's easy to rip it out and start over. So there's my sock. When it comes to knitting, I'm not the greatest at doing these decreases or increases because that is loose compared to those ones. So I've got one there, and my second one started here. So that's my sock. So, sorry, tablet interruptions. So this is where I'm at. I am working top down on my leg, and let's see, we've got quite a bit to go, right? Yeah, we've got quite a bit to go before we start on our decreases for the toe, or for the heel gusset, so I'm excited. I've been wanting to do this for like 3 or 4 years, and it always seemed complicated. Like it was going to be this huge thing that was just going to be really difficult to figure it out, and it's been like super easy. Like I haven't had an issue. Like this is actually quite fun, and like the best thing is it's easy to take with me. So I ended up having I took a walk on Sunday. I walked over to my mom's because she lives like 2 minutes away. It's like a mile, if that, 3/4 of a mile. And I was knitting. I was on the stockinette knitting, the basic knitting, and I was just knitting it as I'm walking through downtown. So that's been really cool. It's easy to take with me, so I can work on it while I'm at lunch, at work. if I have a very long red light or the traffic's really bad, I'll like work on it. If I'm at a standstill, like at a complete stop, I'll like work on it. We've had to go to a couple of parties or get-togethers with our friends, so this is easy. I can just take it with me and just like keep knitting. Sorry if I sound congested. We've had like bug after bug after bug after bug come through the house, and if you've been keeping up with the weather, it's middle of April and we just had snowfall today. Michigan is in menopause, I swear, because it's been 80 degrees, and then it's been 30 degrees, and then it's been 70 degrees, and then it's been 25 degrees. So I think the weather flipping back and forth is also affecting me. So if I sound a little congested or snotty, I do apologize. So I'm excited to get my sock done. And if I didn't show this last time, I follow Crafty Gaming Jamie, I think. I will link her channel down below. She does a lot of really cool cross-stitch projects, but she also makes socks, and I think watching her also kind of like pushed me into the just do the socks. And a lot of it's like do it on a very long set of cables, and then you like flip it around. It was a lot of hassle to work one half of the stitches, readjust the cable, flip it around, work the other half of the stitches, and she ended up, I saw that she's working on 9-inch circulars with short cables, and I bit the bullet and I went and ordered some, and they're a game changer. If you're making socks, I highly recommend the little 9-inch circulars. It was a lot more difficult to get the socks started and get it so I didn't have like a ladder or like a tension issue in the where you connect them. But once it got it started and I got that figured out, game changer. So easy, just keep going. You don't have to worry about moving the cable around or nothing. So this has been amazing, having the 9-inch needles. So I'm hoping I can have this sock finished here soon-ish, so that way I will have a pair of socks. And then my husband's been the one that has been begging me to start socks, so I started with a pink and orange one as a test for me, because we found some really cool handmade yarn that I didn't want to use for my first ever pair of socks and then ruin it. So one of those should be next, and it will be for him. So that will be exciting. So that's where I'm at with the socks. So I didn't work on any other projects except for the one cross stitch that is attached to the big story. So no other projects. I have, oh no, I lied. My son followed me into my craft closet one day and discovered that all of the Wooble kits that I was given for Christmas, and basically demanded that I make them. So I was given 7 Wooble kits, and within a span of like 2.5 weeks, he had asked me to make every single one of them. And save for one, which he rediscovered today, and we finished. So I don't have them because the kids are playing with them, but I will insert pictures. We have made a penguin, which was the very first one. My son stole it, gave it to his sister. His sister Rose went to go clean up stuff after her party and dropped it, and I think the cat lost it. We had it for all of an hour, and I have not been able to find it since. So that was a month ago. And it's going to turn up eventually. Everything does. But we had a penguin. So I have a picture of that one. My son has a lion. He has a chick, which is his favorite. His chickie. He has a dino. His sister has a bunny, a bee. No, she would have had the penguin. That would have been her third one, but we can't find it. And the last one I made today, I am staking claim on, so that way they technically have 3, and I have one of the projects for me. It's a narwhal. My son's currently playing with it today, but I will take pictures and I will insert them. They're really cute. So if you don't mind the type of yarn or the look of them, they are really cute and they work it really easy. If you are a beginner, you know nothing about crochet, they're very, like, they have the tutorials that like walk you through literally hold your hand step by step. I think I tried to do it one, and I was like, yeah, I got this. Just give me the written pattern. I know what I'm doing. So if you don't know crocheting is something you want to do, Woobles is a good way to like get started. If you are looking for something that is like hold both your hands and talk you through 3 ways to do each step, or not 3 ways, but like break each step down into 3 pieces, basically. It really holds your hand. So there's like, you can't go wrong with it. But that being said, my one friend does a lot of crochet. She makes a lot of plushies or amigurumi, and she's really good. She likes the big fluffy plushie yarn. So she's not super fond of the yarn that's given to you with the Woobles, because it's more like t-shirt rope. For someone who's getting started, I don't think it's bad, but for someone like us who's a little bit more intermediate, knows what we're doing, and prefer to work with the plushie yarn or like the worsted weight yarn for different things, you can see where it feels odd. It's very slippery, has a very manufactured look to it because it's not typical yarn, but they all came out cute. I have no problems with them. So we'll find pictures of them and insert them. Oh. So the last project that I ended up working on, I only started because it fell on a very specific day. So if you remember from, I touched briefly on, or mentioned it briefly in my last video, after I came home from Florida, my kitty cat Rumple had started getting sick. He wasn't really eating, was losing a lot of weight. We were doing a lot of medications for him. We were thinking maybe he just, got too stressed by the fact that I had been gone for a week, which didn't quite make sense because me and my husband have gone on vacations before, and he's been with my mom and has never had any issues. Well, I posted my last video on, I think I put it up February 24th or something. I recorded it on the 18th, which would have been a Tuesday. I usually record and whatnot on Tuesdays. Over that weekend, he started declining. Medications were not helping. He was on an appetite stimulant, trying to get him hungry, and an anti-nausea medication and an antibiotic, and they seemed at first to like perk him up. He was like starting to voluntarily eat, and I was like kind of keeping track. So I'm like, once he gets better, we need to know how much he's eating, and how much he's going to have to eat when he's recovered to regain his weight. And me being a licensed technician, I know calorie calculations for animals, so I was like already like calculating out the calories that he was going to need. My doctor had been talking to me about maybe we can put a tube in his nose and, feed him that way. And so I was already like calculating out like how much is he currently eating, how much is he gonna need, how often do I have to break that down so I don't cause further issues. And I noticed while I was tracking how much he was eating that he was starting to eat less. Because he wasn't touching any dry food, we were doing a bunch of wet food, and I was getting the small little cans because I had 2 other girl kitties that both of the girls were, one was like, I will eat wet food all the time. And the other one is like, maybe dry food. So I was like, I don't want to open up like a huge 5-ounce can and then it goes to waste. So I made sure I bought the small little 3-ounce cans or 1.5-ounce petite portions. And he would eat maybe 3/4 of an ounce at a time. When the medication started, he was eating like 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. He was eating almost an entire serving of wet food, and it was like slowly, like it was like a nibble here and a nibble there, until it was like, okay, now he's been most of the day without really eating anything. So we ended up putting in the tube in his nose, and we continued, like he was on antibiotics for 4 weeks or something, and we're like, maybe he's got an infection in his liver because all of his liver values were really high, and we were planning that like pretty much most of the spring he's going to be on antibiotics. tried to start a liver supplement as well, but you have to give that like before food so it's like absorbed the best. And his eating schedule was always very strange, as well as I'm doing sub-Q fluids under his skin at home to keep him hydrated and all of this stuff. So he seemed like he was, you know, kind of doing well. He had no issues for the sedation for the the tube placement in his nose. He didn't even have an issue with the e-collar that we had to keep on him, which is surprising because when he got neutered at 7 months, the technicians then were like, we can't keep him in this e-collar. Like, we want him to go home in a collar for at least a week, and he will not let it stay on. He was the only cat in my 10 years of being a technician that has gotten out of an e-collar, and we were like, it's better to just send him home without it because he's going to cause problems. So he was fine with the e-collar at this point. And he was kind of just chilling and snuggling, and he kind of seemed like he might be having some improvements. And then we woke up on Sunday morning after I had recorded my last video, and he had not made it. He had passed in the night, unfortunately. So I made a pattern for him. So in making his pattern of all of his, 3 of my favorite pictures of him, I was like, I feel like that's why I feel like I needed to redo Jaleila's, because I didn't put in as much effort for hers. So I might leave hers, I might redo it. I haven't fully decided, but I ended up starting the pattern, actually cross-stitching it for Rumple, because I will always dedicate their birthday to the day. If I'm going to cross-stitch, that's what I'm going to cross-stitch on. So Jaleila, I always cross-stitch hers on October 20th, and Rumple's birthday was March 12th. So I knew I had to start it. I didn't want to start a new project, but I also didn't want my kitty to leave me either. So this is the pattern that I ended up making. I can find my mouse cursor. So this is 3 of my favorites. So this, you can see in the heart, I can't like put my fingers or anything on the screen so or point them out better, but you can see in the bottom corner we've got a little baby picture of him as a kitten. That was his very first picture when I found him, or when I said I was going to adopt him, not that we found him, because if you remember, my friend was actually living with the mama cat's owner, and so that's why we ended up adopting them, because him and his sister Pixel needed homes. We were going to adopt Pixel regardless, and I was like, I really want a boy kitty, and Rumple came home with me. And so this is his first kitten picture with his little baby blue eyes. The one on the other side under the orange blanket is, I think, from 3 years ago when he had his dental cleaning and he had to have a tooth taken out. But this is actually before anesthesia. He had gotten the pre-medications for anesthesia so that he would be a little bit more sleepy, so we wouldn't have to give as much anesthetic drugs. And you can see, if you zoom in, or if you're looking at a better screen, you can see the corners of his eyes are kind of coming out, and he's kind of sticking his tongue out. He's kind of like doing one of these, and he's not a blanket kitty. He was never a blanket kitty except for when he was ill this year. But because he was pre-medicated for surgery, he was terrified, and he was hiding under the blanket, and he just happened to poke his head out and look like that, and I was like, snapped a picture, and it's one of my favorites. So that's also why he's got that little yellow thing on his front leg. That's where his IV catheter was placed for that surgery day. And then all of my pictures are like mostly of his face, him looking up at me or him sleeping. So I had to like scroll through because he had like these really pretty tigery markings and white spots on him, but he also had some brilliantly yellowy eyes. So the top picture was the best I could find of all of his markings and his little tan belly and those brilliant eyes. So that's the best pictures I have of him that I made into this collage. So we started this on March 12th, and I don't even remember off the top of my head how many stitches total. I think it's going to be 400 wide by 600 tall. So I think it's in the vicinity of like 120,000. Similar to, I tried to make this stitch count close to Jalaila's, so it wasn't going to be like huge compared to hers. And if I pull it back up, you can see it's kind of got like a fading blue background between the pictures. So I end up starting in the top right corner, as I always do, and just did 175. This is all in black, because like next square down is going to be where it starts that first picture, but just 175, all black, but started this in honor of my baby. So I will definitely be stitching this one on March 12th, and I think I tried to stitch Shalela's as well in January on the day that we lost her, so I might do that for Rumple in February as well, but that's a year away. So that's unfortunately why I've been gone for 2 months, is that's most of it. Processing grief of suddenly losing him, but Pixel's kind of stepped up into the hole, I guess, that's been left. Pixel lately is always, like, before we lost Rumple, she kind of was always like, I'll go down and snuggle with my dad, I'll go snuggle in bed with him, or, oh, mom's on the couch, I'll snuggle with her. And if I was home in the day and I was taking naps, she's always been the blanket kitty. She will always get up under my blanket and snuggle with me while I'm taking a nap during the day. And I've noticed that in the last couple months, she's been more aggressive in her affection with me. She's been more snuggly, so I don't know if she's trying to comfort or if she sees the opening that she can now snuggle with her mom more. Rumple never had an issue with her snuggling. She was the one that, if she was there first, she didn't want Rumple there. So, go figure. I don't know, but she's been more snuggly lately. So, that's where we are. Had the only other life things is vehicle issues, which, cars, yay. But that's an issue that's getting resolved, and don't have to worry about that no more. So, now that I'm back, I'm hoping I'll be back every 2 weeks with updates, so it won't be such a huge update, and even for having as many projects and updates as I did, it's taken me forever to record this, but it's only going to be like 40 or 50 minutes for you, which is surprising. I really expected this video to be recorded over an hour long. So, I will be back I'm going to try to be back in 2 weeks, and hopefully I'll have more progress than just the Storybook Sal. Definitely should have Kiss of Wolves done, and hopefully I'll be working on the heel gusset for my second sock. But until then, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in 2 weeks.